What's going on, Clash Bashers? Rocky here today, and today we have a special guest on the channel. We have the one and only Darian, the community manager for Clash of Clans. Darian, how are you doing today, my man?
Pretty good, pretty good. How are you doing on the other side of the globe?
I am doing well. We were just talking about that. I'm here in Ohio in the United States. You're over in Finland, where it's apparently daytime all day now. How's life over in Finland? Because you're originally from the US, right?
Right. We're born and raised in California. I've lived all over, but yeah, I've been in Finland for, as of this month, exactly 3 years and a month, because I started in May of 2017. And the one thing that I still haven't gotten used to is this whole like northern latitude perpetual daylight as we get into the summer. Like it's pretty much sunny out till about 1 in the morning. And I just, as a night owl, I'm not used to that.
Yeah, that is wild.
I
I'll actually put a picture, the screenshot of the tweet you sent the other day, where you said it's like 10 p.m. and it's just like normal like evening. Like I'm like, that is crazy.
8:30 now, and I'm looking at my window, and like if I was back in California, this is how bright it would be about 4 p.m., 5 p.m. right now. It's still unnerving. Like
That's
yeah.
that's wild. So you're the community manager for for Clash Clans, right? So like, what does that entail? Like, what kind of tell us a little bit about that? Because this is the first time I've had you, I guess, exclusively on my channel. So I guess we'll kind of go through all the basics.
So on the Clash of Clans team, we actually have 3 community managers. I'm just one of 3. The other 2, Marika, who she does all of the coordination of like the eSports events, the championships. She's much more involved with the competitive scene, keeping an eye on the basically the health of the competitive environment. Our other community manager, she goes by Anushka. She is one who owns all of our social media channels, all the Facebook posts, the Twitter posts. She does a lot of that. And me on the Clash team, what I do is I'm more of the public side of the Clash team. So I do a lot of the face-to-face interactions like we're doing here, or interacting with the forums on Reddit, or doing developer videos. So I'm kind of like the public side of it. But all of us have overlapping responsibilities. Like I've gone to the live streams with Marika to help out with some of the esports events. I'll do occasionally some of the posts on the social media stuff and vice versa. So, but I also do a lot of the copywriting as well. So a lot of the in-game text, patch notes, announcements. So we have some overlapping responsibilities. So to say I'm the community manager is kind of a misnomer. There's 3 of us. I'm just the one that everybody sees the most.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense as you being like kind of like the public, more public one, and you do these appearances, and I guess that's kind of why I said it that way. But I guess it was a little bit off, but I mean, I've met a lot of the people on the Clash team, and it seems like a very tight group. Like you guys are so close and kind of work together. Like it was really awesome to see that. Like you and I met over in the World Championships in Germany, and you kind of talked about the like competitive scene. So like that's kind of where I wanted to head here to start with talking about the
Okay.
competitive scene, because obviously the world's a little bit crazy right now with the pandemic and whatnot going on. So would you say that the Clash team has concerns over like potentially not being able to do another World Championship, not being able to do a live event, because we've already seen qualifiers pushed back and kind of worked around? Is there a lot of concern, like potentially not even be able to do a live World Championship this year?
So we're kind of taking things kind of day by day. When this whole global situation first started, we kind of naively and optimistically had hoped that it would blow over in just a couple months. So we kind of strategically postponed some of the qualifier events. But unfortunately, things took a turn for the worse globally, and that kind of forced us to kind of re-strategize what we wanted to do with our offline qualifiers, because we could no longer safely host an offline qualifier in whether it was Poland or any other venue. We decided to make the difficult decision of doing them online. And that meant we weren't going to be able to do live streams of them. And that's the main thing that we wanted to do, is do live streams, because we wanted to celebrate the competitive teams who were qualifying at these events. We wanted the spotlight to be on them. But now, with the online qualifier, we've been relying on content creators like Judo and so forth to kind of help keep the excitement going for these online qualifiers. Now, as far as the World Finals are concerned, again, we're looking at things kind of day to day. As the world kind of hopefully starts to return to a semblance of normalcy, we'll have to reevaluate, whether or not, this is something that we can do in November or December, when we wanted to originally have the World Finals. So right now we're just kind of keeping things on hold to see where things end up by the time the World Finals come around. We've got some contingency plans in place, whether that's going to be, worst case scenario. We hope we don't have to do like an online World Finals. There's
Right.
one of the big things we want to make sure that we can protect the integrity of the game and ensure that nobody's using any kind of bots or cheating or anything like that. And on top of that, it's the World Finals. It's got to be a live streamed event. We've got to have the competitors there. We've got to have all you content creators there, like we did in Hamburg. It was such a festivus and momentous event. And I'm hoping the world does return to some sense of normalcy, that we can have all you guys out there again, because you saw how much you enjoyed, how much fun we had there. It was a blast.
It was definitely one of the best experiences I've ever had in gaming. Like you said, not only like getting to meet some of my peers, the content creators, but getting to meet some of the players and talk with the players and seeing how these teams interact. Like that was one of the coolest things, is like seeing the teams like kind of talking and planning and like getting together. So yeah, I'm definitely hoping for that as well, because it was a really cool experience. But as far as like the online qualifiers, you mentioned the integrity of the game, and I've seen some things. I try to stay in tune, but I could do better. I won't lie. I could do better staying in tune. But I've seen some things about people being concerned with those such things, because we are running these online qualifiers rather than the live qualifiers. Has Supercell kind of been taking more of an active step to, make sure that kind of stuff isn't happening? Is there steps being taken to prevent that in future qualifiers and events as these kind of get further and progress more?
So last year, because it was the first year we had some kind of competitive environment, there was a bit of a learning curve on what we wanted to look for in making sure players' accounts were secure and that people were adhering to the rules. And using that as a step for this year, we've really ramped up on how we look at the accounts. And one of the big ones that we're looking after is people who've bought accounts or traded accounts, or people who are playing using the accounts that aren't theirs. That's been the biggest challenge. And it's unfortunate when we need to take actions against players who do that. And for example, one of the big reports or complaints that we get is, a clan leader will message us saying, one of their clanmates was banned because, that clan leader didn't know one of his clanmates bought his account a couple of years back. And it is an unfortunate consequence of when someone decides to break the rules. But the rules are the rules, and we do have to protect the integrity of the competition. We have a crack team of anti-fraud agents that are specifically trained to look for these kinds of things, and they're actually really darn good at what they do.
Yeah, and like you said, it's something that has to be done, especially when you're competing. I mean, last year we had $1 million prize pool. Has a prize pool been announced for this season? I don't remember seeing that or not, but $1 million prize pool is crazy.
I'd have to check. I don't want to say yes or no.
Yeah, I don't remember either seeing one. But when you're talking about that kinds of money, I mean, look at some of the events, like the community events. Even we're getting some really big sponsors in. And for me personally, like watching this, like I haven't even been super involved. I've done a few, of the 5-on-5 format casts, but like some of these community events and like the hype for Clash of Clans right now, for me, is at one of the highest it's ever been since I've started doing this. I'm going on 5 years of doing YouTube for Clash Clans, and like the hype on Twitch is insane right now. So like, I guess the next thing I wanted to talk about is the community driven events. How do you guys feel about that? Are you guys happy with how that's going? I mean, the content creators are nailing it in my opinion. What does Supercell think, or the Clash of Clans team rather, think about the community events? Are you guys happy with that direction?
Absolutely. Like, how do I put it? The Clash team, we're not an esports organization.
Right.
So we're not the experts in creating, which is why we partnered with ESL to do those things. But what we always wanted to see was a lot of community-driven incentive for these kinds of competitions. It's why the Friendly War feature was put into place. So seeing where the community events are going, that makes us super excited on what more we can do to help support these kinds of community events. Unfortunately, given the global situation right now, we're all working from home, so it has hampered a lot of those communications. mainly because just the normal, typical, everyday challenge of everybody working from a remote location. Seeing where the community has taken these competitive events, that's always been one of our driving goals on the Clash team, is to see just the passion and enthusiasm of the community to host their own events. Before we did our World Championships, I mean, look how many community-driven events we used to live stream, like the Champions War League, the No Dip League, and so forth.
Right.
So it's good to see that there's still a lot of excitement for these.
Yeah, and I've even seen, I won't speak. I don't know who would run it, but like I've seen the Clash Clans Twitch account, like in some of these streams, like hanging out watching. It's really cool to see, all these content creators getting involved and running these events. So I guess that's going to kind of tie in to the next thing I wanted to kind of bring up, the little segment you tweeted out a few days ago, May 27th. So I guess 2 weeks ago now, you tweeted out, "Hey Clashers, as we move closer to our Q2 quarter 2 update, what are some things you look forward to seeing in the content, and no global chat doesn't count?" So before we even move forward, you mentioned global chat right there.
Okay.
Are you guys happy with no global chat? Is the COC team, I mean, is no global chat just going to be the future of the game? Or if you thought about like revised global chats, I mean, what's the thought on global chat right now?
So admittedly, we knew that we wanted to take it out for a while. And this is something that we'd actually been planning for quite some time. And the timing where we were releasing the recruitment tool, at the time, our thinking was, okay, we've been wanting to remove global chat. We've got the recruitment tool coming. Now would be a perfect time to take out the global chat. In hindsight, and hindsight's always 2020, we should have probably released the recruitment tool first, fine-tune it, and then remove global chat later on. But removing global chat was a very high priority for us. One, none of our other games have a global chat.
Right.
They don't. So the idea that the game's gonna, die with no global chat, that's a silly one. But we're happy that it's removed. And I don't know if it's been explained enough times where the main directives behind removing it. And a lot of people think it was because, we couldn't find ways to filter swear words. That coming up with filters is one of the easiest things, but that's not the reason why we did it. And it was, part of it had to do with, stopping, child predators. The other part of it had to do with, just people spamming scams. I mean, how many people fell for Supercell ID scams? Like, hey, if I'm giving away a free account, give me your ID and I'll put it on there. That was generating thousands of tickets of people who were falling for these scams.
Right.
So, I mean, removing the chat doesn't remove scams or predators or violent acts from the world, but it does remove the ability for them to do it on our platform. And that was the important thing, is that our players who are playing the game can play and still feel relatively safe about it.
Yeah, and I mean, I've always explained it, it makes sense to me as far as no global chat. That's less of a headache for the team. And like you said, the game's not going to die without a global chat. I mean, it's just the plain simple fact. So sorry to even have to make you deal with the global chat question. I'm sure you get that one a ton.
But to kind of piggyback onto that, yeah, we do understand that the recruitment tool can use some improvements. Some of the ideas that I've seen from players that we've actually kind of tossed around is, have preset messages in a recruitment channel where you just click one button. It says, we're looking for a Town Hall 13, or I'm a Town Hall 13 looking for a clan. That way it removes the ability for people to write custom messages, and all it is kind of like an ad board. The problem is, you run into people just spamming, or how many messages kind of go unanswered. So I mean, there's pros and cons to it. For now, we're working on improving the recruitment tool. That's all done by our machine learning team, who are separate from the Clash team. So full transparency, I don't know what they're working on, or what improvements are coming, but it is something that they are keeping an eye on. So hopefully, it'll just be an accepted part of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think people just will have. I mean, there's so many features that I remember being back in the game, and when things change, I remember like when the new training tool changed, everyone's like, "Oh my goodness, I'm never gonna be able to get used to this." People don't even remember that you used to have to go to each barracks and put troops in there. Like, it's it's just something with time people will get used to. So I mean, speaking of the update and kind of tying in with like the esports stuff, one of the biggest replies and kind of comments I saw on that tweet thread, and one was my own, was kind of like improving, not necessarily improving, but kind of adding to the friendly war feature. Maybe, you know, adding like an esports mode, or, you know, make it more customization to the friendly wars, you know, so we can have like those one hit formats, or we can, you know,
Right.
limit things. Has there been thought given to that? Is that something possibly in the works? I mean, I think that's one of the biggest things that would make life easier for a lot of these community run events.
So the biggest constraint that the Clash team runs into, the one resource that we never have enough of, is time. And we've got our production calendar for the year pretty much mapped out, so that when it comes to improving like the friendly war stuff, we kind of put those as part of like the quality of life improvement category, things on what we can do to improve already established features. So because it's a feature that's already in the game, that's why it falls under quality of life improvement. Because our development team is always almost purely focused on working on the new content we have planned, quality of life improvements kind of fall into the, all right, what can we get to with the time that we have left for the rest of the development period?
Right.
Now, given that the competitive scene within Clash of Clans, like the clan war leagues and the esports event or mode, given that those are, or not esports mode, but the esports championships, I didn't want people to read into something that wasn't there.
And you know they would. I mean, I've done it.
Given that you know that system is barely over a year old, there's still plenty of things that we can improve on it, but we need to basically sit down and plan that out. And we do have a major update planned this year for other categories. So it's one of those, like, we need to plan out ahead of time if we want to add these features. Now, we have a designer who you met in Hamburg, Petri.
Yeah.
So he's very passionate. Like, he watches almost every live stream of the competitive events. He keeps an eye on the pulse of what's going on. And the dude just lives and breathes Clash of Clans. So he's someone who is a huge advocate for wanting to expand the customizability of the different, you know, competitive modes, like, you know, the friendly challenge, friendly wars. So he's someone who's basically strategizing like what improvements we can make. But again, the one resource we never have enough of is time. So we have to kind of pick and choose what we want to prioritize for these updates. And sometimes a lot of those things that we want to add just simply have to get cut due to lack of time.
Yeah, I remember speaking with him and just listening. You could tell his passion for, you know, the game and all the like, it was amazing just listening to him talk and just like kind of shooting ideas back and forth. Like, that was one of my favorite things, was like getting to meet with the team and like kind of hear and like see you guys like interacting with it. Like, that was such a cool thing. So speaking of the time thing, that tweet mentioned Q2 update. How many updates do you guys generally shoot for in a year, would you say?
So it's over the last couple of years, we've tried to make our updates a bit more predictable timing wise. We've traditionally had 4 updates a year for the last couple of years. One usually in March, one usually around just before the summer holidays in July. July in Finland is a month-long summer holiday. Which I'm not used to that either. Coming from the U.S., being a workaholic, you know, take a month off.
So you get all of July off, like no work at all?
Yeah.
Hold on, are we exposing things?
No. So just quick side story. From what I've been told, it traditionally lines up when the port jobs in the shipping harbors, their contracts usually end in July. So usually for the month of July, there's no work to be done. So a lot of those labor jobs usually take that month off, or at least that's what traditionally I've been told. I could be completely way off here. But over the years, because school has ended in June, and also July is the warmest month of the year, it's kind of all merged into just one big summer holiday culturally. So a lot of Finnish families, they'll either go to their summer cottages over by the lake, or they'll travel to other countries. But you know, given the situation right now, I'm sure more people are not going to be traveling, and more people are going to their summer cottages by the lake and just kind of hanging out. At Supercell, you know, we kind of have the option of taking some time off. But being a community manager, I kind of need to be, you know, keeping an eye on things. So I usually maybe take about a week off at most, but I still kind of keep an eye on the forums and on Reddit and on Twitter and see what else is going on. But work-wise, yeah, you know, we always try to get our work done before that. So, Q2, quarter two is what? Usually April, May, and June. So what month are we?
We're in June, so that was going to be my next question. I mean, I can't keep lobbing you softballs. Does that mean that we are due for an update towards the end of the month, maybe early July? With people not working, you don't want to push out an update. Because I remember, and this is how I was originally going to transition into making you answer some tough questions. I remember when I started my YouTube channel. I'm going on 5 years. I believe it was like June 24th. It was because there was a brand new update coming out. It was the update where the poison spell was changing. That was the biggest thing I remember. Where you used to be able to pull the clan castle troops out, throw down a poison, and just let them get taken out. After that, the poison switched out. So I guess are we due for an update towards the end of the month here potentially?
Well, isn't July the start of quarter three?
Very, very interesting, guys. Very, very interesting. You guys can. Yeah, you guys read into that how you may. Darian. Yeah, see, I get excited. Normally, I'm like on the watching end, taking my notes and how am I going to make this into a video? It's fun being on this end. It's fun being on this end.
So we are what we've been trying to do for the last couple of years is have at least one content. I don't want to say major update, but at least one content update every quarter. Last year we did one just before, I believe it was just before the World Finals, or was it just after? I don't remember. I think it was just before. And then we did our major Town Hall 13 update in Q4. So we're not doing Town Hall 14 this year because we still want to stand by. We want to do a new Town Hall at least 18 months in between, so a year and a half. That would put Town Hall 14 roughly about summer of next year, Q2 of next year. That may change. It may be longer. It may be shorter. We keep an eye on the data on how players are progressing. But we do have some really cool content planned for the rest of this year. And I'm not even, there's no way you're going to get anything out of me about what we've got planned for the rest of the year.
I won't pry too much. The fact that we got that much, I was just trying to, not trying to be rude and glance away. I'm trying to read through this thread. There was a question that I wanted. Now I can't find it, of course. Well, here's one from CA Vicus. Royal Champion skin. Are we ever going to get a Royal Champion skin, Darian? I know, from a perspective, from my perspective, and I think a lot of the community sees it as it's a Town Hall 13 exclusive thing, so if you push that out, maybe not so many people would be interested. Is that kind of the thought process and not so many RC skins?
So it was one of the reasons why we didn't do a Grand Warden skin for quite a few months. Apart from we did the Party Warden, but after that, it was the next one we did was the Primal Warden. So that's only 2 skins for the Warden. So, and the reason behind that was we looked at the numbers, like how many people are Town Hall 11, and that number was really, really low. But now that people have been going through clan games, season challenges, the population of Town 11s has actually skyrocketed.
Right.
So that's when we realized, okay, now would be a good time to start releasing some Grand Warden skins. So we've got a couple in mind that we're looking at. But as far as the Royal Champion, since it's a Town Hall 13 exclusive, it's in the same boat that the Town Hall 11s were a couple of years ago. The population Town Hall 13s, while it's big, it represents such a small percentage of the population that it wouldn't make sense to release it as a season challenge reward. But we are planning on doing some Royal Champion skins. They may be offered as exclusives in the shop. We still haven't decided yet. Right. But there will be Royal Champion skins at some point.
Oh man, I would say, and I just did a list of my top 20 favorite skins, including the default skins, and I even said I would take a Clockwork Royal Champion skin, even though the Clockworks weren't my favorite. As far as the sets of skins, is that something that you guys plan to continue? Because we had the Clockwork set, we had the Primal set. I mean, for me personally, I was in love with the troop designs, like the Valk Queen, the
right.
P.E.K.K.A. Barb. I love those. Is there more plans for kind of themed sets for skins, or is that just kind of play it by ear type deal?
It's kind of play it by ear. So one of the things that we heard from the community is that when we did these sets, is because it's let's say 1 month is the Clockwork Warden, the next is the Clockwork King, next is the Clockwork Queen. That they'd like to see a break in between. They'd still like to see a completed set, but just a break in between.
Yeah.
So like 1 month, we'll do, the Clockwork King. Then maybe the following month, maybe, an Autumn Warden, and then continue the set another time, and rather than doing all consecutively in a row. And that's something that we're looking at from the community. I don't know if sets are always going to be the norm from this point forward. I personally, I do like some of the one-offs, like the P.E.K.K.A. King and the Autumn Queen and the Winter Queen. They were really cool. It's entirely up to our skin artist.
Okay.
So we kind of let him, I would say, not necessarily do his own thing, because the Clash team does have input on what skins go out. So, but I don't have a calendar for it. But we've got some. I know. I've seen the next couple of them, and I think they're pretty cool.
I like to hear. For the record, P.E.K.K.A. King was my #1 skin for me personally. I love that one. That was by far my favorite. It's such a cool, I don't know, it just played really well. So I finally found the question I was looking for here on that thread. So one of the feedback, or one of the questions on your thread about the Q2 update from Khalil Hamora here, the ability to hit FCs with a specific army or switch troops as you do in builder-based attacks without having to recook your entire army for 40 minutes. I know this has been a frustrating thing for me and my clan, and I've seen it in other content creators, or even just other clans like in my family, where maybe we just built a new base and, hey, can you hit this with E-Drags? Yeah, in about an hour and a half. So has there been any thought given to possibly even that, or even I've seen this for Legends League also. I don't like it for Legends League personally, but I would love it for like friendly challenges, or I don't know.
How do I answer this question?
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
So again, I'm going to go back to the quality of life improvements. We have a big shopping list of things that we like to add, and this is one of them. And it's just a matter of, as we get closer to the update, do we have time to put all of these in? Now, our quality of life improvement shopping list, it's like we have a project management application. Maybe some people are familiar with it. We have a massive list of quality of life improvements that we want to go through. And this list is pages upon pages upon pages long. And every update, we kind of go through this list of, all right, do we have time for this? Is this one easy enough to add as we're making changes to certain parts of the code? So for example, let's just use yours, for example. Now, if we were adding a new town hall level, because we're working on the code of the town halls, making changes to the army building might be easier to do based on the kind of change that we're making to the game. But if we were making changes to, let's say, the season challenges, because that may be a separate part of the code, adding this friendly challenge army building thing may not be as easy as it would be under a different circumstance. So not only is our list based on what can we do at the moment, does it make sense to touch this part of the code at this juncture? So basically our team lead and our programmers have to kind of take on the role of project managers of saying, like, can we do it within a certain amount of time? How easy is this? How much time would it take? If we can do it, what would be the benefit in the game right now? Or is this something that we can actually, if the game was doing okay without it, can we work on this at another time? So there's a bit of kind of project juggling that goes on. But in this particular one, I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
I didn't even think about, because I guess everything kind of like, plays in together, especially with all the challenges and even like the events that are, come by every once in a while with the rewards. I guess I never even thought about like how that could all be affected by one little change. And it kind of seems like, I mean, just hearing you talk about some of the things I brought up and some of the feedback, I'm trying to, get questions from the community. So it's just not just like, hey, let's talk about all the stuff I want to talk about. But it seems like you guys are really in tune with the community. Like, you guys pay attention to the community. You guys know what's going on with the community. Would you say that that's pretty true, that you guys watch and try to get feedback from the community?
Absolutely. It's one of the reasons why we have 3 community managers who focus on different things. Marca kind of keeps an eye on what's going on with the pro players and the competitive scene, on where the meta is at the moment. What are the OP strategies? And Petri, our designer, he also keeps an eye on it as well. I'm constantly posting Reddit threads and forum posts and tweets with our development team saying, hey, what's going on with this? Or, here's some bit of feedback that we got. What would be a good reason to explain why we have this in game, kind of thing. So we try to kind of keep it a dialogue between the community and development team. And that's what the goal, that's what the jobs of the community managers are. We're the filter from the community to the game team, and we're the filter from the game team to the community. And it's our job to kind of communicate that.
Yeah, and I think I've mentioned this to you numerous times. It's not trying to pat you on the back because you're nice enough to give me some of your time and come on my channel and give me this exclusive. But I truly feel, a few years ago we talked about this, that the team has really done a great job on improving, listening to that feedback, and just nailing it with the updates and just the community engagements. I really love that. So props to the whole COC team, but here's the meat and potatoes, Darian. Here's what we've been building up to the whole time, guys. So you had the interview on the stream of Go Lulu, and it was brought up about Super Troops. And I remember when Super Troops came out, the thread said more Super Troops to come. Right now we have 4. And you leaked, when you and Eno did the Clash talk, you leaked an image, and then you confirmed on the stream that will be the Inferno Dragon. And then you also... I heard your words, Darian. I heard your words.
I don't speak French. I don't know what I said.
Plausible deniability. But, I mean, we all kind of assumed. I mean, the silhouette looked just like the Inferno Dragon. I mean, that was kind of there. But you said something else that was really interesting because, we got Baby Dragon, Inferno Dragon coming. But you mentioned something about a witch.
The Super Witch.
Did you confirm the Super Witch, Darian? Is this true?
I did. So what's funny is, like, during the live stream with Ano and I, like, it was basically meant to be like a kind of a town hall gathering. We just sat and chatted with the audience. And one of the questions we got asked is, what Super Troop are we looking forward to the most? And before I could answer, Ano just spits out Super Witch. That actually was not script. That was completely unintentional. And that's why you looked at my face. I just kind of went, did that just happen? So yes, we did confirm that the Inferno Dragon and the Super Witch are the next Super Troops coming in the next update.
Wow. Okay, so that's really... I remember when I saw that and saw, say the Super Witch, I couldn't tell if, like, he was trolling or if, like, he slipped up but, with you confirming on that stream. So... correct me if I'm wrong here. Sometimes I think about things. I'm like, I wish Darian said this. Did you mention that potentially you want a Super Troop version of every troop in the game at some point?
Not necessarily want. There may come a point where there may be a Super Troop version of each troop. There may be multiple variants of Super Troops for some troops.
Ooh.
So, like, for example, and I'm just saying this as a hypothetical example and not something that's coming. Let's say for the wizard, like, one Super Troop could be the Ice Wizard. Another Super Troop could be Electro Wizard. Not every troop may end up with a Super Troop version. It just depends on, what unique ability we can come with. So, for example, like a Lava Hound, what would a Super Lava Hound be like? That's kind of a tough one. We'd have to think of something absolutely unique. I mean, I guess, one way, it explodes even bigger or something.
It explodes and drops lava. Look, have your people call my people. I got ideas.
The thing about the Super Troop is that it's opened up a huge library of cool ideas.
Right.
Where we don't have to come up with a brand new troop. We can just add new abilities to the existing ones and kind of breathe some new life into the current existing ones. And for example, with the Super Witch, I won't tell you what she does, but she is not going to be like the Night Witch where she just spits out bats.
So no bats, guys. No bats.
No bats. The Super Witch will be completely unique on its own. And she's a lot of fun. I enjoy using the Super Witch in early playtesting.
Okay, so speaking of the super troops, I mean, I have the screen pulled up here. We got the sneaky gob, the super bard, the super wall breaker, super giant. It really seems like out of those four, the initial four, it seems like two seem to be used the most. And really, super wall breaker seems to be everyone's favorite. Let's be honest here. And then sneaky gobs have kind of been really unique. I know I used them in our past CWL where I used, I think, 6 super gobs and was able to take out a clan castle without pulling the troops. How has the feedback been about the super troops? I know one thing I see is the complaint about the 7-day cooldown in between, and like that's not fair. Like, how does the team feel about like that kind of feedback with, you know, the cooldowns and the usage of some of the troops and not usage of other troops?
So we actually looked at our own data. The sneaky goblins are actually the highest used super troops, and the super wall breakers are actually among the lowest,
Wow.
or it might be the third lowest. I don't remember. I have to look at the chart again. But part of it is, you know, the reason why the sneaky goblins are the most commonly used one is because they're good for farming attacks.
Yeah, they are amazing for farming.
And with the super wall breakers, people are saving them specifically for the clan war leagues. So that means they're only using them once a month. So of course they're going to be a lot lower. So, but
that makes sense.
Given that troops have only been out for a couple months, it's still really too early to tell like where a lot of these are falling time wise. Now, the original idea behind the super troops was to give, you know, max Town Hall 13s who have nothing to spend Dark Elixir on, was to give them some kind of resource sink where every week they could use something different. But we didn't want to make it specific to Town Hall 13, which is why we've opened it up to lower town halls. And if you don't have max heroes, or if you still have things to spend Dark Elixir on, it had to become a strategic choice. Do I spend, you know, 50,000 Dark Elixir on this super troop, or do I save it on spending upgrading in the lab, or do I spend this on upgrading heroes? And we intentionally wanted that to be a strategic choice for players who weren't maxed out.
Okay.
So, but however, as we add more super troops to the game, we're not going to cycle old ones out. So it's not going to be like, you know, here's 4, and then, you know, those 4 go away, and here's another 4, or and then here's an additional 4 after that. So what's going to happen is the list is just going to get bigger. So we have 4 now, we've got 2 coming, and there's just going to be more. So we're going to, as this update, we're going to have 6. So, but if we end up with a bunch of like just a massive library of super troops, you know, there may come a point where we may enable more than one upgrade to be possible at a time. We're not there yet. So that's just a hypothetical idea.
Yeah, I'm sure, like, you know, being able to have a couple, because I know there's been times where I'm like, man, I wish I had a sneaky gob for that and a super wall breaker for that. I'm sure that could just add so much complication. So, like, because you can't use regular troops when you do that. So I'm sure that just, it's got to be such a pain. But I mean, it's really interesting that you keep hinting at more super troops and, you know, not cycling out others, so there could be multiple variants possible. I'm digesting it all. It's huge news here, Darian. I mean,
but also one thing I do want to reassure the Clash community is, even though we're adding more super troops, this doesn't mean we will stop making new troops. So even though super troops are a new feature, we don't find that to be a replacement for new content. So we will still create in the future, you know, there will be new troops, new defenses, possibly new spells. So as we make more content in the future, there will be more new stuff, and not only new super troops.
That makes sense. And I think that would be something that people would really throw a fit about if, well, you just keep getting these super troops. What about new content? So the last thing I want to talk about, because we've already went way over what I anticipated, but I mean, it's a good thing. I mean, being in touch with the community and stuff. So my last question, because I never thought I would really even be at this point, but I've been playing Builder Hall more. Are there plans for more Builder Hall content? Is that something that's talked about? I think you've hinted at this a little bit, but what about Builder Hall?
So our designer Petri, he's actually a diehard builder base fanatic. Like, he loves builder base, and I actually enjoy it too. We don't have anything specifically planned this year. Right now, builder base, you know, we need to establish like what do we want to do with it in the future. Adding just more builder hall levels, we don't feel adds any kind of excitement to the game. We would love to add some kind of competitive aspect to builder base, But a builder-based clan war, because of the nature that it's head-to-head, like if you did a clan war system, that means you'd have to make sure that everybody who's in the war is online at the same time.
Right.
If we did asymmetrically, like the home village, then how is it any different from normal clan wars? So therein kind of lies the dilemma of, what direction do we want to take builder base? And for right now, Builder Hall 9 is, I don't want to say where we're stopping, because there will probably be some more content for it in the future. We just don't have anything on the production roadmap at the moment.
Makes sense. It makes sense. And, that kind of comes in with balancing everything. And I know that was going to be one of my questions was, potentially about war, but that makes a lot of sense. It's like, how do you make it different from the home village wars? Because you don't want just the same stuff. So I guess we'll wrap it up there. I won't take too much more of your time. I really appreciate your time. Huge shout out to not only you, but the whole Clash team for absolutely nailing these updates recently. I feel like Clash is in a really good spot and really happy with things. I mean, the esports, so exciting to see. So huge thank you to giving us some of your time. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. As always, Darian, thanks. Any parting words from you on the way out here?
Absolutely. It's always good to see you, my friend. Like, I loved hanging out with you in Hamburg, and I'm hoping we get to see each other at the World Finals again this year. Thank you for having me on this show. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, dude.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Like I said, anytime you want to come on and just, hint at some super troops or something, we're always here for you, bud. We're always, if you ever, feel the need to leak something, I'm here for you. I'm your guy. But a huge shout out to Darian and the whole Clash team. Seriously, guys, hopefully you guys did enjoy this interview. Hopefully you guys got some good takeaways. I felt it was a really good discussion. I tried to do my best to, get some feedback from the community on Twitter and all that kind of stuff and stuff that I've seen, in my content creating. But guys, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to leave a like. 2 new Super Troops coming soon. Thanks again, Darian. You guys have a great day. Keep on Clash bashing. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you did enjoy it, don't forget to subscribe and turn on those notifications. That way you don't miss any future uploads of mine. And if you did happen to miss yesterday's video, you can check it out right over there.